Let's talk about this first crucial point in depth, because understanding this mechanism is what separates this ancient approach from everything else you might have tried. The core idea is this ancient spice, which we know as turmeric, and its powerful active component curcumin, targets inflammation at its very root, not just the symptoms. Now, to truly appreciate what that means and why it's so revolutionary, especially when compared to something like fish oil, we need to take a deep dive into the world of inflammation itself. You see, most of us think of inflammation as a simple, singular thing. You get a sore joint, it swells up, it gets red, it feels hot, and it hurts. We label that inflammation and we take something to make that feeling go away. That is treating the symptom. It's like hearing a fire alarm blaring in a building and simply cutting the wires to the alarm to silence it. The blaring noise stops, which is a relief, but the fire is still burning, spreading, and causing structural damage completely unchecked. This is essentially how many common anti-inflammatory approaches work, and it's also where fish oil, while beneficial, operates in a more general way. Fish oil provides the body with building blocks for creating molecules that are less inflammatory. It's like supplying the fire department with good, clean water. It's helpful, it's supportive, but it doesn't directly track down the arsonist who started the fire or disable the ignition source. This ancient spice, however, operates like a special forces operative who infiltrates the building, locates the exact point of ignition, and puts out the fire at its source before it can ever trigger the alarm or spread through the entire structure. To understand how it does this, we need to meet the master switch of chronic inflammation, a protein complex in your cells called nuclear factor kappa B, or NFKB for short. Think of NFKB as the chief emergency response coordinator for your immune system, and it's housed in the command center, which is the nucleus of your cells. Under normal, healthy conditions, this coordinator is locked in an office, unable to give any orders. It's present, but it's inactive and bound to another protein that keeps it restrained. This is a good thing. We only want this coordinator to spring into action when there is a genuine, immediate threat, like when you get a bacterial infection or a physical injury. In those acute situations, a signal comes in, let's say a stress signal from a damaged cell, or a molecule from a pathogen. This signal acts like a key that unlocks the office door where NFKB is being held. The moment that door flies open, NFKB, our emergency coordinator, rushes out and heads straight for the control panels of your DNA. It binds to specific genes and flips the switches on, initiating a massive and rapid production of pro-inflammatory compounds. It orders the production of proteins called cytokines, such as tumor necrosis factor alpha and various interleukins, which are like the alarm bells and sirens that call immune cells to the site of trouble. It also activates enzymes like COX-2, which are responsible for producing prostaglandins, the chemicals that directly cause pain, swelling, and that feeling of heat. This entire cascade is your body's innate, life-saving inflammatory response. It's designed to wall off an injury, kill an invader, and start the repair process. It's a brilliant, necessary system for short-term survival. The problem, however, is chronic inflammation. This is where the system breaks down. In our modern world, we are constantly bombarding our bodies with signals that keep that NFKB office door perpetually unlocked. What are these signals? They are relentless and ubiquitous. They include a diet high in processed sugars and refined carbohydrates, which cause spikes in blood sugar and create advanced glycation end products that irritate our cells. They include chronic stress, which keeps stress hormones like cortisol elevated, and while cortisol is a natural anti-inflammatory, constant exposure leads to dysregulation. They include environmental toxins from pollution, plastics, and pesticides. They include a lack of quality sleep and even chronic low-grade infections. All of these factors send a continuous stream of false alarms to the NFKB complex. So that emergency coordinator is no longer sitting quietly in its office, waiting for a real crisis. It's now constantly active, constantly running around the control room, constantly flipping the switches on your DNA to produce more and more inflammatory chemicals. This is like having a fire alarm that never stops blaring, and fire trucks that are constantly circling the block, even though there's no concentrated fire to put out. This constant low-grade systemic inflammation is the silent arsonist that is now linked to nearly every chronic disease we face today. It is the underlying fuel for arthritis, for heart disease, for diabetes, for neurodegenerative conditions like Alzheimer's, and even for cancer. In the context of your joints, this means that the synovial membrane, the lining of your joints, is constantly bathed in this inflammatory soup. The cartilage, which lacks blood vessels and has a poor capacity for repair, is constantly being eroded and broken down by these enzymes. The nerves are constantly being sensitized by pain-inducing prostaglandins. This is the root of chronic joint pain. It's not a one-time injury that's taking a long time to heal. It's a continuous, misguided internal attack on your own joint tissues. Now let's bring our ancient spice curcumin into the picture. This is where its genius becomes apparent. Curcumin doesn't just mop up a few of the inflammatory molecules after they've been produced. That would be like trying to bail water out of a flooding boat with a small cup without plugging the hole. Instead, curcumin goes directly to that master switch, the NFKB complex. Its molecular structure allows it to interfere with the very process that activates NFKB. It essentially blocks the signal that would normally unlock the office door. It prevents the key from turning in the lock. In some cases, it even promotes the production of the proteins that keep NFKB locked up and restrained. By doing this, curcumin effectively stops the inflammatory cascade before it can even begin. If NFKB cannot be activated, it cannot rush to the DNA. If it cannot reach the DNA, it cannot flip the switches to produce the inflammatory cytokines like TNF-alpha and the enzymes like COX-2. This is the definition of targeting the root cause. You are not silencing the alarm. You are preventing the fire from starting in the first place. You are not just supplying water to the fire department. You are enacting policies that prevent arson. This is a fundamentally different and far more powerful mode of action. Let's contrast this with how fish oil works to make the distinction perfectly clear. Fish oil is a source of the long-chain omega-3 fatty acids EPA and DHA. When you consume fish oil, your body incorporates these fatty acids into the membranes of your cells. Now, when an inflammatory signal comes along, your body uses enzymes to break down parts of the cell membrane to create signaling molecules called eicosanoids. The type of eicosanoids produced depends on the raw materials in the membrane. If your cell membranes are rich in another fatty acid called arachidonic acid, which comes from diets high in processed vegetable oils and conventional meats, the eicosanoids produced are highly inflammatory. They are the very prostaglandins and leukotrienes that cause pain and swelling. What EPA from fish oil does is it competes with arachidonic acid. When you have more EPA in your cell membranes, the enzymes that create eicosanoids will use EPA as a substrate instead of arachidonic acid, and the eicosanoids made from EPA are significantly less inflammatory. So fish oil is changing the raw materials. It's making the inflammatory response that your body mounts inherently milder, less aggressive. It's a fantastic and beneficial effect. It's like replacing the highly flammable furniture in a building with fire-retardant materials. If a fire does start, it will spread more slowly and do less damage. This is supportive and important, but notice it doesn't stop the initial activation of NFKB. The fire alarm can still be pulled, the emergency response can still be initiated, but the resulting fire is less intense. Curcumin, on the other hand, is working at the level of the person thinking about pulling the alarm in the first place. It's a preventative strategic intervention at the highest level of command. This is why the combination of both can be so powerful, one making any inflammatory response that does occur less damaging, and the other preventing the inflammatory response from being triggered unnecessarily in the first place. But for someone suffering from chronic established joint pain, where the NFKB switch is stuck in the on position, directly targeting that master switch with curcumin is the most direct path to not just symptom relief, but to a genuine resolution of the underlying pathological process. This mechanism is also why curcumin has shown such profound promise in scientific studies for conditions like rheumatoid arthritis, which is an autoimmune condition driven by a hyperactive misdirected inflammatory response. By quieting the NFKB pathway, curcumin can help calm the entire overactive immune system that is attacking the joints. This is not merely pain management, this is a move towards restoring immune system balance and true cellular health. So when we say this ancient spice targets the root of inflammation, this is the intricate, sophisticated biological dance we are referring to. It is a natural substance that has evolved the ability to communicate directly with our most fundamental inflammatory control centers, offering a level of intervention that is both ancient and cutting edge, providing not just temporary comfort, but a genuine strategy for long-term wellness and joint integrity. Let's move on to the second pivotal reason why this ancient spice is so remarkably effective for banishing joint pain, which is its powerful role as an antioxidant that actively protects your joint tissues. Now, to fully grasp why this is so critical, we need to understand a silent, invisible war that is constantly being waged within your body, a war that is particularly destructive within the delicate environment of your joints. This is the war against oxidative stress. You may have heard the term antioxidants before, but it's often thrown around as a general buzzword for health without a true understanding of the monumental battle it represents. Think of your body as a vast, sophisticated metropolis. Every single one of your cells is like a bustling factory, consuming fuel and producing energy to keep the entire city functioning. This process of energy production, essential for life itself, creates metabolic byproducts. Imagine these byproducts as tiny, unstable, and highly reactive sparks flying out of the energy-producing furnaces within your cells. These sparks are what scientists call free radicals. A free radical is a molecule that has lost one of its electrons, making it electrically unstable and desperate to regain balance. It's like a microscopic tornado, careening around your cellular metropolis, and in its frantic search for stability, it violently steals electrons from whatever it encounters. Your cellular machinery, your proteins, the precious lipids that make up your cell membranes, and even the very DNA that holds your genetic blueprint. When a free radical steals an electron from a stable molecule, it stabilizes itself, but in doing so, it turns that victimized molecule into a new free radical, which then goes on to damage another molecule. This sets off a catastrophic chain reaction of cellular theft and destruction, a process known as oxidative stress. Now, under ideal conditions, your body is well equipped to handle this. Your internal defense system produces its own native antioxidants, which are like highly trained special forces soldiers. These endogenous antioxidants are noble molecules that willingly donate one of their own electrons to a marauding free radical, neutralizing it instantly and stopping the chain reaction in its tracks. They sacrifice themselves for the greater good of the cellular community. The problem, the absolute crisis of our modern age, is that we are now generating far more free radicals than our native antioxidant forces can possibly handle. The sources of this excessive free radical production are everywhere. They come from the processed foods we eat, which are often laden with oxidized fats and sugars that directly introduce free radicals into our system. They come from environmental pollutants in the air we breathe and the water we drink. They come from chronic psychological stress, which triggers hormonal cascades that accelerate free radical production.
They come from pharmaceutical drugs, from excessive alcohol, and even from intense prolonged physical exercise, which dramatically increases metabolic activity. We are constantly bombarding our internal city with an onslaught of these arsonistic sparks, and our native antioxidant forces are simply overwhelmed, outnumbered, and exhausted. This is the state of chronic oxidative stress. Now let's bring this entire conversation directly into your joints, because this is where the consequences of oxidative stress become painfully tangible. Your joints are magnificent engineering marvels. They are designed for smooth, fluid, and painless movement. Central to this function is the cartilage, that smooth, white, glistening tissue that caps the ends of your bones. Cartilage is a unique tissue. It is avascular, meaning it has no direct blood supply. It receives its nutrients and eliminates its waste through the slow, passive process of diffusion from the synovial fluid that bathes the joint. This lack of a direct blood supply is a double-edged sword. It allows for that incredibly smooth, frictionless surface, but it also means that cartilage has a very limited capacity for repair and regeneration. It is a precious and largely irreplaceable resource. Now imagine this delicate cartilage tissue being constantly bombarded by the free radicals we just discussed. These unstable molecules attack the very structure of the cartilage. They damage the complex matrix of collagen fibers that give cartilage its tensile strength, its ability to resist being pulled apart. They damage the proteoglycans, the large molecules that act like microscopic sponges, holding water and giving cartilage its compressibility, its ability to act as a shock absorber. When free radicals oxidize these critical components, the collagen network becomes brittle and weak. It starts to fray and fibrillate, like an old rope that's been left out in the sun and weather. The proteoglycans lose their ability to hold water, and the cartilage becomes dry, less resilient, and more prone to damage under load. This is the slow, insidious process of oxidative degradation that is a fundamental driver of osteoarthritis. It's not just about mechanical wear and tear, it's about chemical corrosion from within. But the damage doesn't stop at the cartilage. The synovial membrane, the thin, delicate lining that encapsulates the joint and produces the lubricating synovial fluid, is also highly vulnerable to oxidative stress. When free radicals damage the cells of the synovium, it triggers an inflammatory response. This inflamed synovium then produces an inferior quality of synovial fluid, thinner and less lubricating, and it also begins to release its own inflammatory cytokines and destructive enzymes into the joint space, further accelerating the breakdown of the already vulnerable cartilage. So you have a vicious, self-perpetuating cycle. Oxidative stress damages the joint tissues, which triggers inflammation, and that inflammation itself generates even more free radicals, leading to even more oxidative stress. It's a devastating feedback loop where inflammation and oxidation feed off each other, relentlessly breaking down the joint in a process that leads to pain, stiffness, swelling, and ultimately a loss of function. This is the bleak battlefield of the arthritic joint. Now let us introduce our ancient spice, turmeric, and its brilliant active component, curcumin, into this scene of cellular carnage. Curcumin is not merely an antioxidant, it is a spectacularly potent and versatile one. Its molecular structure allows it to perform several heroic acts in this war against oxidative stress. First, curcumin is a direct free radical scavenger. It is like a sponge that can mop up these destructive molecules. Because of its chemical composition, curcumin can safely donate electrons to neutralize a wide variety of free radicals, including some of the most destructive ones, like the hydroxyl radical and nitrogen dioxide. It steps directly into the line of fire and sacrifices itself to deactivate the enemy, stopping the chain reaction of damage dead in its tracks. By doing so, it directly protects the collagen and proteoglycans in your cartilage from being oxidized and degraded. It helps preserve the structural integrity of your joints at the most fundamental, molecular level. But curcumin's antioxidant prowess goes far beyond this direct scavenging. This is where it truly transcends conventional antioxidants you might find in a supplement. Curcumin is what we call an indirect antioxidant. It has the remarkable ability to signal your own body to upregulate its native internal antioxidant defense systems. It's like curcumin doesn't just jump into the fight as one soldier, it goes to the command center and orders a massive mobilization of your entire army. Specifically, curcumin activates a transcription factor called NRF2. Think of NRF2 as the master general of your body's antioxidant response. Under normal conditions, NRF2 is kept inactive in the cytoplasm of your cells. When curcumin enters the scene, it triggers the release and activation of NRF2. This general then marches into the nucleus of your cell, the command center, and binds to a specific region of your DNA known as the antioxidant response element. By binding there, it flips the switch on the production of a whole host of powerful endogenous antioxidant enzymes. It commands the increased production of glutathione, which is often called the master antioxidant of your body. Glutathione is an incredibly powerful molecule that recycles other antioxidants and is essential for detoxification processes. Curcumin also boosts the production of other crucial antioxidant enzymes like superoxide dismutase, catalase, and heme oxygenase 1. This is a game-changing strategy. Instead of just providing a finite number of antioxidant molecules from the outside, which will eventually be used up, curcumin empowers your body to become a more efficient, self-sustaining antioxidant-producing factory. It enhances your own innate capacity for defense. This means the protective effect is longer-lasting and more comprehensive than simply taking a single, isolated antioxidant. Furthermore, curcumin's anti-inflammatory action, which we discussed previously, directly complements its antioxidant role. Remember that vicious cycle where inflammation creates more free radicals? By powerfully suppressing the NF-κB inflammatory pathway, curcumin dramatically reduces the production of the very inflammatory chemicals that generate an avalanche of free radicals in the first place. So it attacks the problem from both ends. It directly neutralizes existing free radicals and boosts your body's ability to produce its own neutralizers, while simultaneously shutting down a major factory that produces these free radicals. This 1-2 punch against oxidative stress is virtually unparalleled in the natural world. When you compare this to the action of fish oil, the distinction in their antioxidant roles becomes clear. Fish oil's primary mechanism is anti-inflammatory, not antioxidant, while the omega-3 fatty acids in fish oil can be incorporated into cell membranes and make them less susceptible to oxidative damage. Fish oil itself is not a potent direct scavenger of free radicals like curcumin is. In fact, because they are polyunsaturated fats, EPA and DHA in fish oil are themselves somewhat vulnerable to oxidation if not properly processed and stabilized. Curcumin, on the other hand, stands as a dedicated guardian against the corrosive effects of oxidation. It is specifically deployed to protect the very infrastructure of your joints from this invisible rusting. It is the shield that guards the cartilage from the constant chemical assault that leads to its demise. Therefore, by incorporating this ancient spice into your regimen, you are not just addressing the pain of inflammation, you are actively engaged in a long-term preservation strategy. You are providing your precious, slow-to-heal joint tissues with a powerful, multifaceted defense system against the oxidative forces that seek to degrade them. You are helping to maintain the smooth, hydrated, and resilient quality of your cartilage, ensuring that your joints can continue to move freely and comfortably for years to come. This protective antioxidant effect is not about providing temporary relief. It is about safeguarding the very architecture of your joints, making it a cornerstone of any truly effective approach to eliminating joint pain at its source. Let's now delve into the third and absolutely critical key to making this entire approach work. This is the point that separates a theoretical understanding from tangible, life-changing results. The key is this: the powerful active compound in this ancient spice requires a partner nutrient for maximum absorption. Without this partner, you are likely wasting your time and money, and you will never experience the dramatic vanishing of joint pain that is possible. The active component we have been discussing, the one that masterfully quiets inflammation and acts as a mighty antioxidant, is called curcumin. This is the brilliant compound nestled within the humble turmeric root. But curcumin has a formidable challenge to overcome within your body, one that has rendered many well-intentioned attempts at relief completely ineffective. This challenge is its notoriously poor bioavailability. Bioavailability simply refers to the proportion of a substance that enters your circulation and is able to have an active effect. When you swallow a standard curcumin supplement, or even consume a spoonful of turmeric powder in a meal, the vast majority of the curcumin you ingest never makes it to your aching joints. It is lost along a difficult journey through your digestive system, a journey fraught with three major obstacles. The first major obstacle is poor absorption in the intestines. Curcumin is not readily soluble in water. It's hydrophobic, meaning it repels water. The environment of your digestive tract is largely water-based. Think of trying to mix a drop of oil into a glass of water. They simply don't want to combine. This inherent property makes it very difficult for curcumin to pass through the watery contents of your gut and be absorbed through the intestinal wall into your bloodstream. A significant portion of the curcumin you consume never gets absorbed at all. It passes straight through your digestive system and is excreted completely unused. The second major obstacle is rapid metabolism. For the small fraction of curcumin that does manage to get absorbed through the intestinal wall, it faces an immediate and ruthless defense system. As it enters the cells of your intestinal lining, it encounters a family of enzymes whose sole job is to detoxify foreign substances. These enzymes, part of what's called the cytochrome P450 system, immediately latch onto the curcumin molecules and begin to break them down or metabolize them into other, less active forms. They essentially tag curcumin for destruction before it can even get a chance to do its work. This process is so efficient that it drastically reduces the amount of intact, potent curcumin that ever reaches your bloodstream. The third major obstacle is rapid elimination. For the tiny heroic amount of curcumin that miraculously survives the intestinal absorption and escapes the metabolic enzymes in the gut, it then travels to the liver. The liver is the body's master detoxification organ, and it performs a similar function. It further metabolizes and prepares the curcumin for elimination from the body, often by conjugating it, which means attaching another molecule to it to make it water-soluble so it can be flushed out through bile or urine. This process, known as first-pass metabolism, ensures that only a minuscule, almost homeopathic dose of the original curcumin you consumed ever actually circulates throughout your body to reach your joints, your brain, and other tissues where it is so desperately needed. This is the fundamental problem. You could be taking the highest quality, most potent curcumin in the world, but if it cannot survive the gauntlet of your digestive system and liver, it is functionally useless.
It's like having the most powerful medicine ever invented, but it's locked inside a vault for which you have no key. You can see the medicine, you know what it can do, but you cannot access its power. This is why so many people have tried turmeric or curcumin supplements and reported little to no effect. They weren't using a faulty concept, they were using a form that was bio-unavailable. They were trying to fill a bucket with water, but the bucket had no bottom. This is where the ancient partner, the key to the vault, comes into the story. For thousands of years in the traditional Ayurvedic medicine of India, turmeric was almost never used alone. It was always combined with other agents to enhance its therapeutic effects. The most important and common of these was black pepper. Black pepper contains a remarkable bioactive alkaloid called piperine. Piperine is the compound that gives black pepper its characteristic pungent bite. But beyond its role as a spice, piperine is one of the most potent natural bioavailability enhancers ever discovered. Its mechanism of action is brilliantly effective, and it directly counteracts the obstacles that curcumin faces. First, piperine dramatically increases the absorption of curcumin in the intestines. It does this in a couple of ways. It can inhibit enzymes in the gut wall that would normally break down other compounds. It also appears to stimulate amino acid transporters in the intestinal lining, which can facilitate the absorption of curcumin. But perhaps its most significant effect is on a process called glucuronidation. This is a primary method your liver and intestines use to tag substances for elimination. They attach a glucuronic acid molecule to the substance, making it water-soluble and ready for excretion. Piperine powerfully inhibits the enzymes responsible for this glucuronidation process. By doing so, it effectively stops the body from slapping an eliminate me tag onto the curcumin molecules. This allows the curcumin to remain in its active potent form for a much longer period within your body. The numerical evidence for this is staggering. Scientific studies have shown that the addition of just a small amount of piperine, as little as 20 milligrams, which is a fraction of what you'd find in a single peppercorn, can increase the bioavailability of curcumin by an astonishing 2,000%. That is not a typo. 2,000%. This means that taking curcumin with piperine makes it 20 times more available to your body than taking curcumin alone. It transforms the therapy from a faint whisper to a clear, powerful shout that your cells can finally hear and obey. This is not a minor technicality, it is the entire foundation of the protocol. It is the difference between failure and success. Without piperine, you are sending a single unarmed soldier into a heavily fortified enemy camp. He will be captured and neutralized before he can complete his mission. With piperine, you are providing that soldier with a full squad of special forces, advanced intelligence, and a stealth cloak. He can now infiltrate deep behind enemy lines and deliver a decisive game-changing blow. The piperine ensures that the curcumin not only gets absorbed but also survives long enough in your bloodstream to travel to your inflamed joints, penetrate the synovial tissue, and exert its powerful anti-inflammatory and antioxidant effects right where it is needed most. This is why you will see dramatic results only when you use a formulation that combines these two powerful allies. This is the secret that was known to ancient healers and has now been validated by modern science. It is the non-negotiable partnership that unlocks the true pain-banishing potential of this ancient spice. Therefore, if you are ready to truly watch your joint pain vanish, your action is clear. Seek out the high-quality curcumin supplement that is specifically formulated with piperine or another proven bioavailability enhancer. Embrace this ancient wisdom backed by modern understanding and provide your body with the complete toolkit it needs, not just to quiet the pain but